I really love the parasite animation on the enemies.
7K Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We'll be looking at Sizar today, but before we look at Arena, I'm gonna show you his stats. Since stats are so important right now, why not just familiarize ourselves with the numbers? HP 20,000, magic attack 3,000, defense 1500. Okay, then we will compare it to his mythical awakened form and you will see a drastic difference. For his HP, he has 55,000. Magic attack is almost 2 times and defense is increased by 500 points. So just by looking at this, you can kind of interpret the damage formula. Even a slight increase in defense is going to make a pretty big difference, considering all the other stats have a huge increase. So think proportionally, a little defense increase is probably going to make a big difference, and that is why many top players are giving their heroes blue jewels now. So just to compare with Wukong, who is also kind of tanky, you realize that Wukong has 5,000 less HP, a lot more magic attack, 2,000 points, and defense wise only about 200 less. Okay, and we're gonna proceed with Arena. I have substituted Alim for Sizar, and I'm using battery, so my team is pretty reminiscent of the top few teams. I will first talk about Sizar's equips, okay, when he uses his skill. Right now, I'm kind of giving my Freya height. I think Freya height is very good thanks to my friend DC Imperium, who recommended this, told me to change. Yep, and it's working very well. Okay, so Sizar. I've given him double myth crit and a HP and a block. HP block is something I think one of the top players are using. You can give him double HP or double block, it's totally fine. I think HP block is probably just to get, a little bit of both HP so that he has a regen every turn. And for his jewels, I've actually given him increased skill use chance, increased awakening gauge, and block rate. Okay, the point of this is to boost his block rate by even more so that he can tank more hits, and the others are just for him to use his skills much earlier. So why do you want to use his skills much earlier? Because of his new effect called the Parasite. What is the Parasite? Basically it's something like suffocation but better, because while the enemy takes damage, Sizar heals. So this actually increases his survivability and longevity, and him being a tank unit, this is very important because he himself doesn't have any form of lifesteal or regeneration capabilities. In this first match, I think he doesn't really do too much. Okay, you will see that his HP is already lower than my Wukong, and that is if enemy Chris, he counters Sizar and triggers effect attacks. It can be quite devastating. And if the enemy Wukong actually puts the taunt on Sizar, then you may also face some issues with Sizar's survivability. Otherwise, he is pretty tanky. But does he make a big difference in Arena? I do not think so. Yeah, I do not think so. Of course, it'll be good to have him, but if you don't have him, I don't think it is a very big issue. I mean, yeah, from what I've been observing for the past few matches, I mean, he does survive till pretty late, but not as late as Wukong, Chris, and sometimes even Freya.
You cannot stop me. Now fall. I shall be the cataclysm.
Of course, in this case, you can see my Chris died early. Sizar is putting in a lot of work in this later match, and for his Parasite effect, as I was saying, it actually hits one target. There's one skill that hits one target and there's one skill that hits 3 targets. And his awakened skill does not have the Parasite. So you having the skill use chance is very crucial for him to survive. If he doesn't use his skills, then he may face some difficulty in surviving. And of course, I feel that this is very similar to what we have before. Remember Carl? Carl had chain transfer, and he really had to use his skills to inflict the chains on the enemy to survive. So this is something, this just reminded me of that. Okay, not entirely the same, but it just reminded me of that.
Out of my way! Take a good look.
So again, I think the ending battles have all been like Wukong in the end. I think Wukong is in a league of its own really, because Wukong is really good, and Sizar still doesn't match up to that too much, okay? But given the right build, I'm sure he can be a good tank unit. Okay. So looking at his skill use, jewels and traits that I've given him, he is moving quite a bit, and I think that is very good, trying to land a parasite. I think the parasite is an attempt for Netmarble to start bringing in back some unique abilities, especially because given the current situation of Arena, so many debuffs are resisted, so many debuffs are just 2 turns, okay? And things do get pretty uninteresting because you don't land your debuffs. So what is the point of having 2-turn debuffs? 2-turn debuff is okay if it lands, okay? It can kind of shut down some units on the enemy team. But most of the time, you don't get that.
For your pretty blood.
So in this match against this particular player, this particular match, there is a lot of Parasite going on, as you saw. Battery dying to Parasite. Parasite actually triggers at the end of the enemy turn. Okay, so for 4 turns, your enemy will be taking in damage at the end of their turn. And also one more thing that I would like to talk about in the current meta is that a lot of units that are going to be awakened and coming out are kind of slanted to the defensive side. You're going to have Myth Evan and Myth Eileen coming out. And in this case, your grade 5 and grade 4 soul skills are going to come in very, very handy, because your grade 4 soul skills have this particular option that lets you take less damage from universal heroes. Of course, I think if most of you have already made it past that or are still building on grade 4, you may not want to reset your entire soul skills, fighter soul, just for this purpose, because there still can be a magic meta coming, and you know, it's really dependent on the meta. So I don't think it is very advisable if you're gonna spend 300 topaz every meta change to change your soul skills, okay, unless you really have a way to get so much topaz that you can spend it like that. And for grade 5, you have 2 options whereby you increase damage down on defensive and increase damage on universal. So I think the universal one in grade 5 is the way to go, not just for PvP but also for PvE, because PvE, a lot of bosses, they are universal types. Okay, so that will come in very handy, something that is worth considering before you get there.
This is my ultimate power. Darkness and gold.
So I'm gonna continue just talking about Sizar, even though he's no longer on the field, as you can see. Sizar, I really wish he lived longer. Maybe it's because I've given him the Guardian Ring and Galeda's Madness, so he doesn't have the 1.5 times HP like if you give him the Willful Ring. Okay, so I lost this match, but I think you saw a lot of Sizar's effects going on, killing off certain enemies. So yeah, I'm not sure at this point if the accessory makes a big difference, whether the Guardian Ring or Willful Ring is better for him. I could probably test that out, but the problem is I don't have the appropriate substat that can be given with the Willful Ring.
Go. Attack.
So as you can see, he has his Awaken skill ready pretty early because of the jewel, and he also used the skill. So this one actually changes formation if you unlock his exclusive item, otherwise it will do AoE damage.
Become blades and overwhelm.
I don't particularly see it as a very devastating skill, and in fact, Another thing I would like to bring attention to is the hero designs. So I think a lot of players are pretty annoyed that designs of heroes are so simplified that it's just 2 lines of one skill and maybe some lethal chance or debuff. There's nothing very interesting going on, and currently it's all about the stats. So if you have better equipment, then you will have a very good advantage, along with your fighter soul of course. But the heroes themselves, they do not have a very interesting take and twist for the battle, for the arena. Let's talk more about Sizar. If you have been watching on, even though I've been rambling on about other stuff, you realize that Sizar, his HP healing per turn is actually very useful for him. Especially if your enemies are doing a single target attacks, then it basically gives him a free heal turn. I think it helps. I haven't tried double HP on him. He can heal a lot more. I've also seen players who have given him Isabella's Vigor. That is also a potential accessory, because I have seen that with Isabella's Vigor, when he uses his skill, he will heal about 3000 HP. Not too sure if it's enough for this context, because counters from Chris are very painful. Another thing I've considered is the use of height accessory for Sizar, because you do not want him to be countered so easily. So if he gets countered very easily, and if enemy Chris uses the effect attack on him, his health can be reduced very quickly, especially if there are other debuffs like bleed especially. With bleed, if he gets countered, that will be very painful. So what I feel about Sizar basically is that he doesn't make a big difference. I think that's also because he is a Pentagon hero. He's not a golden frame hero. So if you do not wish to pull for him, there is really no pressure to, and you can continue using Wukong. I think Wukong is a much better hero to build if you do want to improve in your PvP. And focus on building Mythical Awakened items. I think they are really the game-changing factor right now. I have tried to Mythical Awaken more of my items, and they really do make a difference. So if you did find this video helpful and you did enjoy some bits of it, do give it a like and do subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more guides to come. Thank you so much and see you!